The following story raises profound questions about life, death, and the possibility of rebirth, challenging both the Pollocks' faith and beliefs on reincarnation, which are often met with skepticism, especially in cultures where such memories are suppressed. Before we continue, if you have not done so, go ahead and subscribe, click the like button, and click on the notification bell so that you are immediately notified when the next past life video is available. On the 5th of May 1957, while playing on the pavement, 11-year-old Joanna and her 6-year-old sister Jacqueline Pollock were run down by a car. The woman driver had been semi-conscious due to drug abuse. Although the parents' sadness was great, they pardoned the guilty driver and wrote a letter to her. When Mrs. Pollock was pregnant a year later, her husband revealed to her that he had a vision. He saw that she would give birth to twin girls and that these two would be their two lost daughters reborn. Even though Mrs. Pollock was reassured by a gynecologist that there was only one audible heartbeat present and not twins, Mr. Pollock was still convinced that his knowing was correct. Later, he was proven to be right. On the 4th of October 1958, Mrs. Pollock gave birth to identical girl twins. The first child was given the name Jillian. The second, born 10 minutes later, was named Jennifer. While their father was admiring his new daughters, he noticed a scar above the right eyebrow of Jennifer, the younger of the two girls. His recently deceased daughter had the same scar in exactly the same place. She had fallen at about the age of 3, and a visible scar had remained on her forehead. To his amazement, he also discovered a brown birthmark the size of his thumb on Jennifer. His daughter Jacqueline had exactly the same birthmark in the same place. All this proved to him that his earlier vision that he had received was true. Jillian and Jennifer were truly his first daughters reborn. Mrs. Pollock, being a strict Catholic, still rejected the idea of reincarnation until the following events occurred. When the twins were 4 months old, the Pollocks moved to a different area, only to return to Hexham on a visit 2.5 years later. To the amazement of the parents, their two daughters knew their way around this area extremely well. Without being able to see the school, since it was hidden from sight by the church, one of the girls said, "The school is just around the corner." The other one pointed to a hill and said, "Our playground was behind there. It had a slide and a swing." When they approached their old house, the two sisters recognized it immediately. Even so, Mrs. Pollock, unlike her husband, still did not want to believe that the twins were really her recently deceased daughters reborn. When the twins were 4 years old, Mr. Pollock opened a box which had been closed for over 3 years. In it had been kept the toys of his first children. He placed some of these outside the twins' bedroom door as he wanted to see whether they would recognize their toys from the past. When the girls came out of their room, where their mother stood as witness to their reactions, Jennifer picked up the first doll and said, "Oh, that's Mary." While picking up the second doll, she said, "That's my Suzanne. I have not seen them for ages." She used the same names, which Jacqueline had previously given her to dolls. "Father Christmas gave us these a long time ago." She turned to Jillian and pointing to another toy she said, "And that's your washing machine." Now Mrs. Pollock was finally convinced that her twins really were her first daughters and that her church must be mistaken in refuting reincarnation. Both the children developed overcautious responses when crossing roads and feared speeding cars. The older daughter Jillian loved to comb people's hair, especially her father's. This interest had been the same in their fatally injured Joanna. Joanna had been 5 years older than her sister Jacqueline, and the sisters had spent most of their time holding hands and had seemed inseparable. Jacqueline always listened to her older sister. Whatever she said was right for her. The same behavior surfaced once again in the twins. The one born 10 minutes later leaves all the decisions to her sister and does what she tells her. Once again, both of them loved walking around hand in hand, and as before, one never seemed to want to do anything different than the other. If you had children like these, would you be equally convinced of reincarnation, as was Mrs. Pollock, even if you followed a strict religious belief? There are thousands of cases that show us the same or very similar circumstances to those described in this video and other videos on our channel. Sadly, most parents forbid their children to talk about such things. What their children say may well go against their beliefs, and often they are also concerned about what the neighbors may think if they got to hear about it. In India, the belief in reincarnation is widely spread. One is able to speak freely to others about who one was and what one has experienced in the past. Still, many parents forbid their children to mention their memories of past lives. Their unfounded fear is often that children who remember past lives may die young, or may become homesick for their previous family and may wish to be reunited with them. If you enjoyed this video and you have not done so, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, and click on the notification bell so that you are immediately notified when the next past life video is available.